Fire trucks, as far as the eye can see, there's no fire here. This is just part of the massive security to close off the streets. There's also snow plows closing off the streets in Cleveland, all in an effort to keep the Quicken Loans Arena and the Republican National Convention safe. I'm Larry Menti, and this is a special primetime edition of Jersey Matters. We are in Cleveland for the Republican National Convention. We'll show you more about the security efforts in just one moment, but I want to get right to an interview that Kimberly Kravitz got. She was last night with the Jersey delegates when Governor Chris Christie arrived, and she asked the governor about his disappointment in not getting the vice presidential nod. Wait till you hear what he says.
Well, listen, as I said in the interview I did on Thursday, well, of course you're disappointed. I mean, you know, I don't ever get into anything that I don't want to win. And so when you're not picked, of course it's disappointing. But you know, I've been through this parade before, and I realized that it's like getting hit by lightning, you know? So it didn't happen, that's fine. I mean, you know, like I said in the interview I gave on Thursday, before I knew what was gonna happen, you know, you get disappointed, you take a deep breath, and you get ready for tomorrow. And here I am, and I'll be speaking Tuesday night, and I'm running the transition. I've got more things to do this week than I have time to do them. So it's just the way it goes, and I would not trade the experience for anything.
Do you expect Donald Trump to win the state of New Jersey?
Oh, listen, I think he can make it. I think he can make New Jersey competitive, and it's going to be up to him as to how hard he works and how much time and effort they spend there. But absolutely, Donald's got a long time association with the state. He's known very well there, and so I think he's got a better chance to win the state than any Republican candidate we've had in recent memory. So we'll see how hard he's going to work. We'll see.
All right, great job, Kim. As I told you, we would tell you more about security. Let me show you what it takes to get in anywhere close to the Quicken Loans Arena. You have to go through this fence, and right there, that is a metal barrier that rises and falls, much like the one they have outside Congress. So it is almost impossible to get in there with nefarious purposes. They're very well aware of what happened in Nice, France, and ready for it. This might be the safest place in the world to be right now. Now let's get to another exclusive that we had. We happened upon last night a meeting of a new movement to stop Donald Trump. It used to be Never Trump, that failed. Now it's called Delegates Unbound, and they are trying to make certain tonight with a petition that they unbind delegates so they don't have to vote for Donald Trump. I sat down and spoke with the co-founder. Dane Waters is the co-founder of the Delegates Unbound movement. We just happened in on a meeting you were having, strategizing, I guess, for the convention. Tell me what was going on here.
Well, I mean, ever since the Rules Committee voted the other day about binding delegates, we're having to take another course, and that is collecting signatures. I won't get in the weeds. Collecting signatures on petitions to require a voice vote on the rules package. Our goal is to vote down the rules package so we can address the binding issue again, and we're strategizing about how to make that happen.
And this is all about Donald Trump?
No, it's not all about Donald Trump. I mean, you know, clearly there are people in this room who are here because of Donald Trump. Our involvement, a lot of our involvement is because the Republican Party needs to be reformed. What Donald Trump has done is he's pointed out some of the fault lines in the Republican Party, some of the issues that need to be addressed to ensure that this doesn't happen again. You know, reforming the primary system, reforming the power of the delegates, and those are all the kind of things that a lot of people in this room cared about.
Isn't that ironic that you have a candidate that said the system was rigged, that you agree with that part of what he said, and yet you are putting together a movement that might hurt him?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, Donald Trump said the system is rigged, yet he worked jointly with the RNC Rules Committee to take away the power from the delegates. So he actually rigged the system in order to ensure that he's the nominee. Here's the funny thing. He's the only horse in the race. He's the only guy. So the fact that the RNC is changing the rules, the RNC, and the Trump campaign are using intimidation tactics from some of the delegates, the fact that they intervened in a case in Virginia about we're trying to strike down a state law about whether delegates are bound or not. It's funny that he's the only horse in the race, and everything they're trying to do is to ensure that the delegates can't vote their conscience in regard to Donald Trump. So, I mean, the system is rigged. I mean, he's helped rig it, and we're just working to try to ensure it doesn't happen in the future.
you can tell me unequivocally that this isn't about Donald Trump, that it seems like you keep talking about procedure, and the delegates I was talking to a moment ago are all talking about procedure, and yet none of them want Donald Trump. And when I walked in the room, I said, I thought the Never Trump movement was dead, and they said, no, look at this, it's still alive.
Well, the Never Trump movement is definitely not dead, no matter what Donald Trump wants to say. No, is there a component?
I thought it died in the Rules Committee. That's what I meant.
Well, no. I mean, listen, there are people who are very passionate about many different things. Are there a lot of people involved in this because they don't want Donald Trump to be president of the United States? Yes, and this is the vehicle that they see to get there. But there are a lot of people involved who just see that the Republican Party is fundamentally broken, and they need to fix it. So, yeah, I mean, opportunity makes strange bedfellows, as they say. So I can't sit here and say it's not an anti-Trump movement. I can't say it's all about procedures and technicalities and all that kind of stuff and reforming the party. But the common interest is that all these individuals want what's best for the party and what's best for the country, and we're all working together to ensure that that happens.
The argument against what you're doing is going to be then you're going to negate the primaries and the voters and the millions of people that came out and voted for Donald Trump.
Well, listen, we're following the rules that have been established by the Republican Party. And the rules are that these are preference primaries. The RNC is a private association. The delegates are the only authority who can nominate a candidate for November. So, I mean, we are following the rules. The voters spoke. The delegates take that in consideration. The delegates also take in consideration about whether this person represents the values and principles. The delegates also take in consideration about whether this individual can win in November. It's like a three-legged stool. You have to take all three in consideration, and that's what they're doing. We're not rewriting any rules. We're not taking the vote away from anybody. We're following the procedures that were set up long before Donald Trump got into the race.
Right now, this is a small group of people at a restaurant. Tell me what it's going to look like tomorrow night. Can you have any effect?
Oh, yeah, we can. I mean, first of all, this is the first day that the delegates are getting into town. Some of these delegates that came straight from the airport to be here, so this is not any indication about the size of this movement. I mean, in my opinion, one of the reasons that the Trump campaign and the RNC worked so hard to shut us down is because they knew that this was a serious effort. They knew that we had enough delegates who wanted to vote their conscience to possibly deny Donald Trump the nomination and nominate somebody else. So is this movement small? Not by any stretch of the imagination. And in fact, what the Rules Committee did the other day about taking away power, this has grown far greater than about the unbinding or binding movement. This is about the RNC consolidating power, taking power away from the delegates, and a lot of people who didn't even support our effort are now involved because they just think that's wrong and fundamentally want to change it.
All right, so that's what Dane Waters had to say. But we talked to a couple of the delegates and listened very carefully. They keep saying this isn't about Donald Trump, but when you press them, it is about Donald Trump.
For me, this fight has always been about a principle. Do the delegates have the right to set the rules under which they operate?
When you say always has been, you felt this way before Donald Trump was the nominee?
Absolutely. I've been arguing about this since 2012. And in fact, I wanted changes to the rules back in 2008. And so, yes, this is not a now thing. This is not a new thing. This is something. Check the videos.
No, I believe you.
There were arguments on the convention floor in 2012 because the same kind of thing was done by the Romney team then. The same kind of thing is being done.
Did you want Romney?
He was not my choice either.
Do you want Trump?
He was not my choice either.
Do you want Trump?
He wasn't my first choice either. No. Well, something is important here. When I was recruited for this effort, they kind of felt me out because they didn't know if they could trust me and asked me, what did I want? And I told them, if the delegates want to dump Trump, that's fine with me. If they want to elect Trump, that's fine with me. But I want that decision to be made by the delegates, not somebody standing on a podium telling them how to vote.
I'll give you the final word. But first start with, are you supporting Donald Trump?
No, I'm not supporting Donald Trump right now because he's not nominated yet. But be clear.
Do you want him to be the nominee?
No, I don't want him to be the nominee. I don't think that he can win the race against Hillary Clinton. But if he's nominated, I think a lot of people who would rather see a different nominee will work for the Republican nominee. What I want to say is that this is a petition that you have a copy of. It doesn't say we want to unseat some New York delegation. It doesn't say that we want to twist some result of some primary and reinterpret it. It says we want a voice vote. So if this petition is signed by 200 or 300 people and it's filed and the delegates get to vote one by one and all their voices are counted, they can nominate and decide that Donald Trump is the nominee. That may happen even if this group is successful. And we would count that as a victory because it would mean that the delegates decided to vote for Donald Trump tomorrow. That's fine.
So we'll all find out together what happens with the Delegate Unbound movement tonight. There could be chaos, there could be nothing. We'll all find out together. When the special edition of Jersey Matters continues, we're going to talk to a couple local delegates who helped decide the platform and the rules for the Republican Party. We'll be right back.